Ty, what's up, man? Thanks for joining the show today. How you doing?
James, I'm great, man. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, dude, it's kind of funny, man, because I remember seeing you have a few viral threads on Twitter. We met through a mutual friend, Nick Abraham, who's a good outbound sales kind of thought leader. And then we got on a call. I think I really like your style and your thoughts just with sales and what you're doing more specifically for cold outreach. You're really kind of putting a good name to cold outreach in such a black
Appreciate
hat,
it.
a wild west type of world. For simple introductions, why don't you just tell everyone a little bit about yourself and kind of give us the story of Ty?
Yeah, I appreciate it, James. First of all, thank you so much for having me on. Dude, I've been waiting for this for a couple weeks now since we booked it and canceled it,
Yep.
rebooked it. So I appreciate it. About me, 23 years old. I'm Israeli American. Grew up in Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa. My dad was a economics professor at Iowa State, and I grew up. I was in the music industry for 9 years. So I started producing music at 14. So I started producing music then. I was on FL Studio, aka Fruity Loops. Made a lot of hip hop beats. When I was 16, I did a beat for G Herbo. I was actually on his first mixtape, Welcome to Phaso Land. I
Nice.
did a song called Love to Stunt. He actually stole that beat without telling me. Someone heard my tag, like my producer tag, right? And they're like, "Dude, is this you?" And I'm like, I listened to it. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is. Can I curse on here too?
Yeah,
It's cool.
totally.
Right? All
Yeah.
right. I'm like, what the fuck? This is crazy. So I find out they stole my beat. We ended up signing a contract. I got paid for it. All good. And then I produced a song for Paul Wall. And basically, when I turned 17, 18, graduated high school when I was 17, right after I turned 17. And I went to live with my mom for a year in Israel. So I'm Israeli. So it's like I can live with my mom for a year after I graduate, but then I can only be in Israel up to 4 months a year until I'm 26. Otherwise, I'd have to join the army. So I lived with her for a year and I really got my money up. I started reading books. I started going on Twitter, a lot of self-improvement stuff, going to the gym, reading like Rich Dad Poor Dad, How to Win Friends and Influence People, the basic shit, heavy into Twitter self-improvement side. And that's when my mindset changed. So I was producing music for TV and film. My mindset changed. I'm like, all right, I need to actually use leverage. So I'm going to leverage my relationships, my knowledge, my ear, and make a lot more money than I was before while doing less work. So I started building my team, started doing actually cold outreach to music producers and artists and engineers and building up my team. And I, instead of creating the songs myself, I executive produced it, all the music at scale. So it was a way larger scale. We had like, at first 5, 10 artists grew eventually to 50, 60. And then I got 40, 50% of the songs. And it took me like 5, 10% of the time. And the songs were better than I would have ever made them. So it's like I 3, 4, 5x my output. Since then, I grew shut down music, my music agency to we had 8 employees last year, 50, 60 musicians on our roster. Signed $100,000 a year deal with RedBull when I was 2021, 3, 4 years ago, and then signed a $200,000 a year joint venture label deal with Universal Music when I was 21. Yeah, and then grew that, disbanded it in November, started going super hard on Twitter, opened up my own cold outreach agency, and now we're here. Yeah.
So that's an awesome story, man. And I don't even know if you know this about me, but I come from a music background as well, man.
No
Yeah,
way.
yeah. So we're talking FL Studio. I know exactly what you're talking about there, man. Fruity Loops. I haven't heard that, man. I haven't heard that software name for what feels like forever now.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was one of the crazy musicians. I'll throw you some of my music after this, and
Yeah,
I
man.
got the chance to like do a like little mini tour Wu Tang and things like that, man. Yeah,
What?
kind of
No
funny.
way.
Yeah, got to open up for the game. Yeah, kind of
Ah,
crazy
the
stuff, dude.
game, dude. He's one of my
Yeah,
favorites.
yeah,
West Coast guy.
yeah, no doubt. But I so okay, so you obviously had your passion in music, but there's not a ton of money in music unless you really
No.
attack the business side. And
Yeah,
it
yeah,
sounds
yeah.
like you attack the business side, and then through that, you kind of learn just sales because sales is the lifeblood of every type of transaction in any industry. And then more specifically, cold outreach. So, kind of take me
Yeah.
through when did it click for you that, like, hey, cold outreach is my thing?
Well, It's my thing, but it's one of many things I like to think.
Sure.
So it's like it's a high level skill I have, but I like to think that I have like about a dozen other high level skills. So it's like networking, making friends, building systems, building business systems, operations, managing people, things like that. I consider myself to be pretty good at. But cold outreach, man, I started doing cold outreach when I was 14. So my dad had a sabbatical in Israel. I was in ninth grade, and we went there for a year, lived in Jerusalem, and where my mom grew up. And basically, I got heavy into underground hip hop and old school hip hop, like all about lyricism and conscious rap. Lupe,
Man.
Fiasco, Nas,
Yes.
Brother Ali,
Love
people
Brother
like
Ali,
that.
man.
He's the
Shadows of the
man.
Sun is like the best album ever.
Yeah, I fuck with the Undisputed Truth.
Yeah, that's good too.
That's a good one. So I got heavy into that, and I got into this Yahoo Answers underground hip hop forum, where it was all about like real hip hop and like fuck this fake shit that they doing nowadays, whatever. So I got heavy into that, and then people started producing. Oh no, what I did first was I started a hip hop blog called DungeonsOfRap.com, and you know that comes from Nas, right?
Yeah.
In Illmatic, he says Dungeons of Rap somewhere. I forgot exactly where, but DungeonsOfRap.com. We had 300-400 visitors a day, which was pretty cool, making no money. But what I did is I did a lot of cold outreach, and I interviewed pretty semi-famous underground hip hop rappers or underground rappers, like Master Ace. I interviewed Master Ace, which is Eminem's idol. Yeah. I interviewed Dice Raw from the Roots. I interviewed Rex, who's from Boston, great underground rapper. Who else? Wordsmith, who is in Master Ace's crew, EMC Squared. This is super underground shit. Yeah. I don't know if you know about it.
Oh yeah, James. Oh yeah, man. You ever get Atmosphere on or
they were too high up. So I was working my way up from Master Ace is a legend. Like, but he wasn't like making a fuck ton of money. My blog was small. So just working my way up. And John Connor, I interviewed him, who's from Flint, and he was on Dre's Compton album.
Absolutely.
Right. Man. And basically, I did a lot of cold outreach to these guys when I was 14, and I got them on interviews, like an hour, 2 hour long interviews. I mean, I think the interview was like more like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, but it took me like 3-4 hours to transcribe it. Right. So it's like I did a lot of cold outreach. I got these guys on interviews, you know, and since then, when I started producing shortly after, when I was 14, May 5th, 2012, actually, I started producing. I remember the exact day. And since then, like, you got to do outreach. Like I did outreach. I DM'd rappers. I messaged them on Twitter. I emailed them. Obviously didn't hit them up on LinkedIn because rappers don't really stay on LinkedIn much, but hundreds and hundreds of cold outreach messages a day sometimes. Did a lot of work. Most rappers obviously not receptive to my beats. Most rappers would rather buy a bag of weed for $20 than lease your beat for $20. Probably made $5,000 in my first 2-3 years producing. And that's how I got my start with cold outreach.
So then, okay, so let's take that experience. Let's kind of fast forward it to the last like 3-4 years. You obviously signed a deal with RedBull. You've now, made hundreds of thousands of dollars. Kind of bring us up to speed. And more than anything, man, you're kind of becoming like this Twitter icon and the sales world.
Oh, come on.
And no, I'm being
That's a little much.
Yeah, icon in the sales world. Your bio reads X 7-figure agency. You're teaching people how to grow. Really, their rev to 10K a month and beyond with lead generation systems. Take us how you got from, hey, May 5th, 2012, I'm doing this rap blog and producing beats, to now you're literally teaching systems to people. And talk to me about those systems, because they're all sales oriented, lead gen oriented. And let's say someone's listening to this, they're working a 9-to-5, very typical listener we probably have. And they're thinking about quitting their day job and they want to make the 10K a month. Talk to me kind of about your systems, man.
Yeah. So first thing, I put 10K a month in the bio because it's like, if you say I teach you how to get to like $1 million a month, like not many people it's not going to resonate with many people. So my system, like what I do is like, I teach people how to get way past 10K. I said 10K and beyond. 10K is a good number to like, it's a lot of people resonate with it. Right.
You can quit your job at 10K a month.
There you go. So basically what I did from, I started making beats. I started building my company, really, Shutdown Music, where I built a roster of rappers, singers, producers, engineers from all over the world. We work with artists from Trinidad. We work with artists for producers from Voronezh, Russia, which is an hour and a half south of Moscow. We worked with people, with a lot of Americans, Canadian, like people from the Philippines, Thailand. We made songs in Japanese. We made songs in Hindi. So a lot of cold outreach we did cold outreach on the A&R side, right, to find new artists and to work with them.
Yes.
And we also did cold outreach on the business side, the business dev side, where basically we made music for TV and film, right? So it's like we were a service provider. We made all the music in-house, executive produced it in-house. Great stuff. Feel free to search Ty Frankel on Spotify. I'm at probably 30K plus listeners a month, just for people like hearing the songs and looking them up on Spotify or whatever. And I built the roster up, and I basically built all these business connections with major labels like Universal and Sony, BMG, Warner Brothers was one of my biggest clients through cold outreach, right? Through cold email, through hitting them up on LinkedIn, and, built the business. We did 600K rev last year, and I have royalties that are going to be, well, the next one's in June 18th. I get $25,000 to $35,000 every 3 months, and that's going to be there for the next 4 or 5 years plus until it starts maybe to dip a little bit.
It's a game changer. So how do you get those like meetings on the book, man, with such high profile people? I mean, the music industry too is so crazy and saturated.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think there's a ton of hustlers in the music game, but there's not like a ton of like smart entrepreneurs. Everyone's a grinder, a hustler. That's what they're proclaimed as, right? But like no one's really thinking 5 steps ahead. And it sounds like you kind of did here. So like Warner Bros, for instance, like how do you solidify that meeting?
I sent them a lot of emails. Well, first of all, our product was better than everyone else's on the market because these companies we were working with. So basically we made them the music. They had clients in the video game industry, in the TV industry, in the movie industry, trailers, whatever. We made them the music. They took it, they released it, they placed it with all their clients, and they made money on the back end. We did as well. That's basically how it worked. So I hit up all these different companies, and number one, our music was just so much better because when I came into the game in 2014, into the music for TV and film game, it was all these 40-year-old white guys doing hip hop. They call it Oprah hop, actually. So it's all this type of music that you hear on like Oprah, like talk shows and Ellen, and it's like, it's not real hip hop. And I'm not talking about like underground hip hop lyricism. I'm just talking about what's authentic to today's sound.
Sure.
It wasn't. And it's like all these 40, 50-year-old white guys that were also doing rock for these same companies. They were also doing classical. So it's like, oh, you're really good at classical. Let me just hire you to do hip hop. It didn't make sense. It didn't add up. Their hip hop was garbage. Right. Garbage. Right. So I came in with a product that was just so much superior. I'm here. I came into the game when I was 17, music for TV and film. My product that I produced was a lot better than everyone else's. Then when I got to the next level, when I built a team, the producers that I hired were better than me. And the artists that I hired were really fucking good. So it was like our product was just so much better. And over the course of 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 emails, all the big companies eventually responded to me. All of them were responsive. And we pretty much got every deal we wanted to in that industry. And we signed up. So the $100,000 deal, a year deal with RedBull, that was 100 songs a year. We did 100 songs a year. They paid $1,000 for a vocal song. No, $1,100 and $600 per instrumental. Plus we got royalties. The deal with Universal was 120 songs a year. They paid us $1,100 a song plus royalties, which is like over 70, 80K a year. We just pretty much did everything we want because 1, our product was just that good. And 2, I was really good at cold outreach, and I emailed them every 3 to 4 weeks with brand new music. Right. So if your product is so much better than everyone else's, it makes it really easy to win.
Absolutely. And then you gotta put yourself out there and then stay consistent with being out there.
Yeah.
If you have a hell of a good product or service and, you're just on someone's ass for, every 3 to 4 weeks, you're sending them something new. There's
personalized.
Personalized, genuine. At some point, people just appreciate the follow-up, I hired my VP of sales. He actually just told our entire team, we have a team of 11. I hired my VP of sales, Angel Sandoval, because this guy just wouldn't fucking leave me alone. And I didn't want anything to do with him. He came from a douchey Facebook group, and the dude looked like he was 18. But he stayed on me to finally, I took the meeting, and then guess what? There was substance to the conversation and yada, yada, yada. Here we are.
It's easy. It's so easy to win. It really is.
It really is, man. Just the money's in the follow-up. And it sounds so cliche, but damn, it's just so true. I want to talk cold outreach, outbound sales. This is a big thing on Money Twitter, which you really help champion. There's also a lot of bullshit out there. What do you think the biggest what do you think the biggest misconception there is in the cold outreach world right now, that's going on right now?
I think one misconception for people that are looking outside in is that cold outreach is spam and it's a bunch of bullshit and whatever. And that's probably true for 80% of people. And I've gotten a ton of cold emails that were spam. And what does spam mean? I mean, spam means something that you take and you blast it out to a lot of people either at the same time, or they blast it out to you manually, but it's not personalized, or it just personalizes your name, or they get info wrong about you, or they just like, hey, Ty, I saw you're a marketing agency owner in Los Angeles. Here's my offer. It's like, you don't know that offer is going to work for me.
Yes.
That's spam when you haven't researched every prospect individually. I think that's a big misconception. It's just spam. I would say a lot of it is, but the ones who are really killing it and getting real results and building real businesses are not spamming. It's not like B2C email marketing where you have an email newsletter. It's one-to-one manual, you automate as much as you can, very personalized, right? I think that's a misconception. And then another misconception in the game to people who are already killing it in cold outreach is that you need to write first lines and you need to personalize every email manually. So I'm talking to a couple of agencies now, and I can't give away the sauce just yet. I might, follow me on Twitter at the Ty Frankel. I'll tell you about it sometime, maybe in the next couple months when I get clearance to. But basically, these agencies found ways to personalize their emails automatically, very, very personalized, automatically. So there's one, there's a website called warmer.ai, and that's not a secret. Like AI driven, personalized, like first lines, like custom first lines about the prospect when you open up an email. That's not a secret. People are doing that. I think the lines are getting better and better. Probably in a year or two, they'll be good enough just to send on their own.
Yep.
Warmer AI, I know, is doing a great job. The CEO, Elliot, is a cool dude. And then there's a couple other things that are just even head and shoulders above that that I just can't talk about, but it's very exciting. And that's a misconception. So you cannot personalize an email automatically, but you can actually.
Sure.
And that's a game changer.
Sure. I think it's also, like we always say, it's going to sound so cliche, but cliches are true for a reason. It really goes quality versus quantity. I think a lot of agency owners or just even salespeople, they'll try to go for the biggest list. They'll try to go for the most amount of people. And personalization to me isn't just auto-populating a first name or company name anymore. We give our SDRs like, hey, look at these 100 people. And maybe we're not the most tech savvy agency out there, but we don't rely on automation, right? We really rely on, okay, do we think that we can win for our client with this prospect? Because we're gonna spend maybe 10 minutes on their profile. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that adds up when you have 100, 200 people, right? And we're gonna try to figure out something like, oh, you went to UNC, so did our client. Right, like something as simple like go Tar Heels, right? Or like something as simple as that, which all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm at least going to give this person a shot, and a shot being I'm actually going to act like genuinely read what they're sending me.
That's what it is. That's
exactly
what personalization is. It's just a shot. It just gives you a shot. And then if your offer is good enough, if your product is head and shoulders above the rest, like mine was in the music industry, you're going to have a lot of success.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So you kind of hit on the next thing I want to talk about here. Obviously personalization. I love the first line, kind of bio personalization. What do you see in terms of trends right now that you think 2021 and beyond, it's going to happen when it comes to the cold outreach world?
A lot more automation. And one thing I wonder is like, are people going to be able to suss that out? Are prospects eventually going to be able to suss that out if it gets super advanced? Right. So I think the automation is going to change the game. If you're able to send personalized emails completely automatically, you have an endless pool of money that you have access to, whether you're growing your own business or whether you're growing someone else's business and you have an agency. So that's a trend I see. Another trend I see, which isn't necessarily a trend, but all these cold outreach agencies, I think, are selling themselves short. It's like, okay, they're working and they're getting $200 per appointment. Through every appointment they set, right? Every sales appointment they set, $200 or $300 or even $100 I've seen, which is crazy to me. I don't understand that. I really don't. What I would do is I would approach people and ask for equity and ask for vested equity. It's like, dude, okay, your business is at $1 million a year, right? You're at what? 80K a month, 85K a month, right? $1 million a year. Let me take you to 2, 3, 500K a month. Every single client I bring on, or every milestone we hit, I get a percentage of equity. So I get vested equity, and maybe I get paid 150, 200 per appointment just to make sure that I can pay my employees and, I'm getting at least some kind of return. But I think cold outreach agencies, because you're growing a company, they cannot grow without you. They don't know all these other cold outreach agencies. They don't know how to do it themselves. You have a very high level skill. So if you're growing a company, right, they're doing all the back end, et cetera. Of course, they have to fulfill. But if you're pretty much growing it single-handedly, then I think you should charge more than $200, $300 per appointment. So I would go more towards equity plays. If not equity, then at least rev share, and make sure you work with a company that has a high deal size. $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. You get 10% rev share of a $100,000 deal, you get $10,000.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well said. No, I think that's really well said. I think there's a ton of agencies that sell themselves short. People look at us crazy as an outbound agency because we'll take a high retainer and we'll take incentivized commission-based deal. And the reason I do that is because, listen, like if we're filling your pipeline with sales, not everyone, especially if it's a high ticket offer, you're talking about a six-figure transaction. Doesn't matter if you're reaching out to 100, so we work in the commercial cleaning space typically. I can reach out to 100 facility directors, and the truth is maybe 10 of them actually are eligible to buy right now. It's because they're under contract. They have a $2 million contract that plays out through June 2023, right? But if we stay on that person's ass until June 2023, we're going to get that $2.5 million deal or that 50K a month deal. And of course, we want to hit home runs right now with every swing of the bat, but we're also filling your pipeline and nurturing a network, which needs to be the second step to your cold outreach. You need to nurture them for a network, and we need you to utilize that network for good, to convert to opportunity. So we're like, we got away from the appointment setter telemarketing talk as quickly as possible, because it's like, no, you're hiring us because you don't want to fucking do this part of the sales cycle. And two, you also don't want to pay $60K to a business development rep plus commission. So if you're going to outsource it, you're going to pay for our time plus results. And I think we kind of stand to our guns or stick to our guns in that sense. And that turns some clients off, but the core that we get are cut from our cloth. Right. So I think any agency owner listening to this that devalues their price actually just devalues the industry.
Yeah, I think so. And I think if you are working with your first couple of clients, different story, right? If you have 2, 3, 4, 5 clients, you're just trying to get your systems in check. You're not 1,000% sure you can get results consistently. You're not 1,000% sure how to qualify clients. You don't have the systems on the back end. Maybe you don't have the people to really scale this thing. Totally. even work for free,
Yes.
and be like, yo, no setup fee. If I get your results, maybe we can talk about getting paid in a month or two. If not, great. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Don't be too good.
Right. Right. And that's the key. Like at the start, work for free, or you can start on $150, $200 per appointment. But eventually, if you're like, you're at 10, 15 clients, you're fucking killing it. You know, you can grow a business easily. You have systems and automation and great employees and a great culture. Raise your prices, take a piece of the revenue, take equity if you possibly can. That's what I would recommend.
I love it, man. I think that's really well said. And I actually think that's kind of the trend where the industry is heading ultimately, because, people want to get paid the value that they're bringing. Two last questions for you here, Ty. The first one, this is kind of the advice section. If you were to talk to a young sales entrepreneur right now, or just young entrepreneur, what's like one piece of impactful advice you would give them?
Man, learn high value skills and don't work in an industry that's going to cap your growth. So high value skills, right? It's basically you're building leverage. You want to know how to network. You want to know how to make friends, build relationships. You want to know how to do cold outreach and get clients. And I think building a personal brand is one of the highest level skills you can learn.
Yeah, it's hard, dude.
Because it's just like the leverage you build with a personal brand that's backed by substance. I've seen it firsthand, of course, is insane. You can, like, the leverage is crazy. You can put yourself into situations you never thought you'd be able to put yourself in. And that's what I've been able to do just 6-7 months building my Twitter, just an hour a day. It's really not crazy hard. But before you do that, James, you'd be fucking great at this. And I believe wholeheartedly you should go all in. But someone that's just starting out, they're not going to be able to do that because they have nothing to teach about. They have no expertise. So learn high value skills for 2, 3, 4 years, right? Like I said, networking, creating systems, learning how to code is a very high value skill, leverageable skill, making relationships, managing people is a high level skill, doing that. And then the second piece of advice is don't work in an industry that's going to cap your growth. So for example, I was in music for 9 years and I'm very glad I did it. And the past 3, 4 years, I really built my company and built all these systems. That's where I learned my high level skills at, right? My high value skills. But if you're in a creative industry like music, or you do graphic design, or you do web dev, some kind of industry where you cannot quantify your offer monetarily, your growth is going to be very, very capped. My growth, we were doing 600K rev last year. I did 150, 200K profit. We had all these Filipino employees and Americans fresh out of college. And it's like, margins were like 25, 30%. And we were already trying to save a fuck ton of money. And we weren't able to grow. It would have taken me to start my own distribution company 5 years to break even. So my growth was like super capped, right? Recognize that. I would get into marketing, in any kind of marketing. Marketing, you're printing money. Marketing equals printing money. It's another term for printing money, right? So that's what I would get into. I would be like, fuck the passion.
Yes.
Your passion is doing whatever the fuck you want in your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly, dude. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
if you're making a fuck ton of money, like if you're making $1 million plus a year, you can do whatever you want in life. And then you can go back to your passions. Like if you really love making music or doing art, make those. Don't have the pressure of making money with your actual passion hanging over your head.
Yes.
Make money, then worry about your passion. And my passion personally is making money. So it works well.
Mine too, man. And then it becomes business and like making deeper connections through business. It's all of that shit, man.
Yeah.
It's so funny. You're probably the first one on this podcast, and I'm so happy to hear it. Is like, my passion's making money. Grant Cardone, we all know Grant Cardone, and you can think whatever the fuck you want about Grant Cardone, but he says something I totally agree with, man. He's like, walk into a room and say, I want to be filthy rich. 9 out of 10 people are going to look at you and feel disgusted. And then that one person's honest with themselves and said, yeah, I want that too. I want to be filthy rich. So I have freedom, I have impact, I have legacy, all that stuff, man. So yeah, don't follow your passion, follow the profit, and then make that your passion.
My passion is building amazing things that make a fuck ton of money with my own 2 hands.
Yeah.
And I thought it was music. I stopped making music. I made my last beat end of 2016. I stopped executive producing 6, 7 months ago. I haven't missed it at all. And it turns out like my passion was never music. It was building beautiful ecosystems with
Yes.
my own two hands and seeing them run and seeing them, rise to success. That was my actual passion.
I love that, man. I like the fact that you weren't afraid to pivot there. So all right, so the last thing I do here, man, I have this deck of cards, has like all these random questions. I've never looked at any of these questions, man. I literally
Okay.
just pull out a card. You got a hard one though, man.
Oh shit. Okay.
What are you struggling with this week?
Oh, that's easy.
Okay.
I might have to I might have to think for a second, but I'm struggling with a lot. So one thing I'm struggling with is finding great people to work with.
Yeah, it's hard, man.
It's really hard. Like one thing I've noticed is that I hired over 25, 30 employees in the past 2 years. So since May 2019, that's when I really started to systemize everything. I shut down music. 25, 30 people, a lot of them like VAs for like $6 to $13 an hour from the Philippines. But some of them were kids fresh out of school. Like I said, the salaries weren't great because we were operating on very low margin. Recently, I've hired some people and I really like who I've hired, have more money to play with. So just finding great people, like that's in that especially employees that really give a shit about your company the company that they're working for.
No doubt.
You have to incentivize them right, but their heart has to be in the right place. You have to incentivize them with money. You have to incentivize them with skill development, like they're developing their skills. Give them 2, 3, 4 hours a week. Yo, learn this new skill. You're gonna be able to use this now. Anywhere you go later in life, you're gonna be able to come back and use this skill. Give them that incentive, and I think you're gonna win. But even people are still not motivated, even with those incentives. Potentially, a good amount of people. So, finding the right person, hiring is something that I definitely need to get better at, and I'm trying.
Hire someone to hire for you, bro.
Yeah, with recruiters recently, and it's been good.
Yeah, but no, I think it's building a team, probably one of the most critical parts to success. And fortunately, we've been blessed, and I think a lot of it, honestly, is just luck on our part. Maybe it's not, I don't know, but we have a good core team, and I tell my employees, man, I love them, and I'm not expecting them to say that back, but like that's the type of commitment. And I tell them, no shame in my game. I love you guys and I want you to be fucking happy. So what is it going to take to make you guys keep you happy? I tell them, you're my biggest client, not the clients. You guys are. And one thing where managers get it wrong or entrepreneurs is they measure time versus impact. Fuck that,
Right.
dude. Measure, man, I pay my VA 25 hours a week. She probably works 7 hours a week. I don't give a shit because when she's on, she's on.
Right.
I mean, measure impact, not time.
And that's why I like more and more recently hiring project-based people too.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Really, really well said. And it's a different mentality, but the job gets done really well.
Because if it doesn't, they're not going to get paid too.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Like an employee can come in 40 hours a week, slack off. Let's say they do work those 7 to 10 hours a week, but they're supposed to work 40, but they're fucking slacking. Yeah. Like they could just slack the fuck off and they're still going to get paid. And until you fire them, they're still going to get paid. And it's like, all right, cool. You fired me. I'm just going to go find another job, whatever. So I'm gearing more and more to hiring project-based people.
Yeah. It's almost like the only problem with that is like you need someone to always be recruiting those project-based people because it could be the management of it is tough, man. But but listen, if that is the one thing you're struggling with right now, then you got a good life, man. And I think you're doing a hell of a job on Twitter, bro. I love your story. I'm gonna go check out some of your one last time. What was the guy that stole your beat, man? I gotta check this.
G Herbo. Well, he wasn't the only one. I mean, there's other people that stole my beats, but he was the biggest one.
What was the song?
Love to Stunt.
Love
two as the number. Love to Stunt.
Dude, that's so funny.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny. So I ended up getting paid for it because I signed a contract with them. They were going to pay me $250. Whoopee, 250. I'm 16 now. I was like, all right, cool. Yeah. And then I signed it. They didn't pay me. And then what happened was I was like, fuck. Like I registered I'm not gonna get paid. They're not answering my emails. I took the song and I registered it with a PRO organization, performance rights organization. Basically, these organizations BMI, ASCAP, CSAC
Sure.
in America. I registered it with BMI because I was BMI, and I put myself as 100% sole owner as the dude. And I've made like $2,000-$3,000 off of that song since I registered it. It's like every 3 months, it's like a couple $100.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
They should have paid the 250, bro.
Should have paid, man. Should have paid.
Hey, man, where can people find you, bro?
Where can people find me? At the Ty Frankel, TheTyFrankel on Twitter. I'm going to start posting great stuff on Instagram as well. Hit me on there. I'm also on LinkedIn. Or shoot me an email, ty@tyfrankel.com. Yeah, I respond to every email, DMs. Feel free to reach out.
Ty's an awesome follow, and I'm not just saying that. We'll go ahead and link everything in the show notes. Hey, man, we should do a podcast with you and Nick, man.
That'd be amazing. I would love that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, bro. Hey, I appreciate it, brother.
James, thank you so much, man. Take care.